sensing anything.
All I can sense is their own fear.
Spooky goings on aplenty in The Conjuring 2, the Enfield case. Now, I'm actually somewhat familiar with the Enfield haunting. I've actually read a few articles prior to this movie coming out, and there's actually been a few screen adaptations of the event as well. In fact, I actually reviewed a TV kind of mini-series called, I believe, the Enfield Poltergeist or the Enfield Haunting, I can't remember, that you can actually watch on the channel. But here we have it as a part of the Conjuring franchise, and this basically follows the adventures of Ed and Lorraine Warren, depicted by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. And this one's again directed by James Wan, who did the first movie. And just like the first movie, this kind of starts with a prologue with another haunting, this one being, of course, Amityville, obviously another extremely famous haunting case. Then the attention focuses on the UK, where they have this kind of small street, basically, and there's this kind of down-on-the-luck family who are in this kind of house, and they are plagued by ghostly goings-on by a seemingly old man who takes a particular fascination with one of the young daughters, and played by Madison Wolfe. And I have to say, she's fantastic. Madison Wolfe does a great English accent. Does sound a little bit Mary Poppins from time to time, but does a pretty convincing English accent, I would have to say. Anyway, and that's pretty much all I'll say on the plot. There is an overarching theme. It kind of made it to be a little bit more... there's a bit more to it to a certain degree in regards to a bigger plot, rather than the first film, which is more kind of self-contained. This one basically suggests that there is more of a kind of a bigger presence at work here, shall we say. And that will come into that again in just a moment. But this is going to be a kind of spoiler-free review. So let's talk about what was good and what was bad about The Conjuring 2. So, The Conjuring 2, I'd say, definitely feels like it's obviously set in the same universe. It very much has that same feel as the original Conjuring. I think James Wan is correct. You know, he's basically now kind of pretty much a master at creating spooky effects. And I have to say that this film does that perfectly. There's some fantastic creepy set pieces, fantastic camera, amazing lighting here. The lighting in this film is fantastic. I really like that. And the acting here is all pretty good. Like I said, I think Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga basically, you know, they play their parts extremely well, very likeable characters, and the family as well. Like I said, I think they all pretty good actors here as well. So the acting, I have no problem with. The directing, I think for the most part is pretty damn spot on. Great creepy moments. It's not a gory film, but there are certainly lots of jump scares in this film and some good tension building. And I have to say, the visual effects, for the most part, are very good and have some real creepy imagery here that I think you'll find it somewhat haunting. There is one exception, which I will come on to. So in regards to the negatives of this film, there's three things that I'll kind of say. And two of the things I had a problem with, and then the third thing someone else who went with me actually pointed out. So what I had an issue with, first of all, now we've mentioned the visual effects. There is a scene involving a manifestation, basically, that kind of involves a dog, and it's terrible. It is a terrible effect and looks so out of place in this film. They should just cut that out. It looks terrible. It's only a short sequence, so it doesn't have that big of impact on the scene, I have to say, on the whole film. But the actual scene itself, is pretty poor. So that is unfortunately a poor misstep in regards to the effects, and it really takes her out of the film, that sequence. The other issue that I have is I feel the pacing wasn't quite as strong as the first film. But for this film, if you look at the first Conjuring film, I feel that was perfectly paced. Had a great kind of sense of tension. This kind of slowly building, effect. And I felt that the Warrens were introduced at a good point in it. With this film, I feel that it kind of dragged at the beginning and then kind of shot off into this kind of like massive end sequence, which was way over the top. So, to get into a bit more detail, the Warrens don't actually really get involved in anything supernatural. I would say probably until about 2/3 of the way through this film. There is supernatural stuff that happens prior to that, but I feel there are parts at the beginning of the film that do drag, and I felt it maybe could have been kind of maybe just tightened up in certain areas. And like I said, when we get to the last kind of maybe sort of 15-20 minutes or so, it ramps up into such a massive action sequences. I actually found it went a little bit too far. I felt it kind of, considering the somewhat slow burn of the film, and then this tension that it's building, the scares that it had, even though visually I feel the ending was very good and had some good effects and kind of some good imagery, I felt it went a little bit too kind of like balls to the wall action for me. And let me tell you, having read some details about the actual Enfield case, this is an adaptation, and it's certainly probably, not that I was there, but obviously you can imagine this has obviously been somewhat exaggerated. In fact, I don't think the Warrens were all that much involved in the Enfield haunting, to be honest with you, at all to begin with. I know they were involved briefly, but not to the degree that this movie would suggest. Anyway, the other issue that the person I went with brought up to me was basically that there is this kind of bigger plot involved, shall we say. And the logistics of how that's working in regards to physical locations across two countries, how does that actually work? Because it doesn't quite make sense when you think about it. I'm saying this with non-spoilery things here, but it basically suggests that there is a kind of an entity basically that is able to basically travel across from the UK to the US or vice versa, and it somehow knows where the Warrens will be. It kind of makes it again a little bit too far. Takes it into a little bit more. Although you can say obviously these films were based on true events, it kind of takes it into a little bit maybe too fantastical to a certain degree, I feel. So I don't feel this was as strong as the first film, but it is still a very good horror film. I absolutely, I love the first film. I think it's nearly a flawless film, the first movie. This one is a good horror film. I don't feel it was as quite the kind of the everything is not quite as tight as the first film, but there are, it's well directed, it's well acted, the lighting is fantastic. There is one that's supremely scary scene involving a painting. Oh my god, that scene was sinister. I loved it. It was absolutely brilliant. Trust me, when you get to the picture scene, I haven't seen many people talking about it. My god, it was a brilliant, well put together scene. Absolutely fantastic. And this film has got some fantastic sequences in it. Anyway, so for me, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. What was your favourite part of the movie? Leave us a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.